Hola, ¿qué tal?
Perfecto.
Señores, el yo del futuro les viene a decir que, por supuesto, muchas gracias a todos los que se suscriben al canal diariamente y que, perdón por tenerlos tan botados también. Ahora tengo micrófono, miren, ahora sí, así que ahora puedo hablar, miren, aquí no se escucha, acá sí. Así que habrá más material y estamos haciendo solamente la introducción para la entrevista que tuvimos con David Ellefson, el histórico bajista que estuvo muchísimos, pero muchísimos años en Megadeth, también vino con Overkill hace súper poco a Latinoamérica, vuelve con Diet para tocar en Colombia, Argentina y Brasil, y también tiene cosas con Metal Allegiance, con Kings of Thrash, con su proyecto solitario Ellefson, con Altitude Cenaritude, la banda que conforma junto a Frank Bello de Anthrax y Satyricon al último tiempo. Así que le preguntamos un poquito de todo. Muchísimas gracias a toda la gente que ve nuestras entrevistas, a quienes la comparten sin ocupar nuestro nombre también. Y nada, eso. Suscríbanse, se vienen cositas, se vienen algunos sorteitos también. Se vienen harto festival a todo Latinoamérica, así que estén atentos al Planeta del Rock, que no deja de rotar ningún día.
Estamos el día de hoy con el tremendo David Ellefson, que estará muy pronto en Latinoamérica con Death. I don't know if I say it well, but at least it's spelled like that. D-I-E-T-H. Death? How is it pronounced?
Yeah, we call it Dieth, is what we call it. Yeah.
Diet.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking about diet, but it was like, no, it sounds like diet. But yeah, well, first of all, how are you today, David? Nice to meet you.
Wonderful. Yeah, wonderful. Doing great, man. Just doing a little practicing here. As always, I kind of keep my, seeing a bunch of guitars back here, basses. I'm always writing, practicing, working on stuff. So finish one, on to the next one. So, but yeah, we're getting excited here for Dieth Mode. We just spent a week over in Poland. We recorded a new track. We have another one ready to go as well that we're going to record here over the next few weeks. We've got a new single in the works, a new video, some new photos, and a bunch of stuff. So yeah, it's exciting. And of course, heading down to Latin America in about 2 weeks. So super excited about that.
N de la R, como dicen por ahí, un detallazo que está aquí justo a la mitad de la entrevista es que hay mucha gente que me ha escrito de que ¿por qué no le ponen subtítulos a la entrevista? Y lo que pasa es que de partida me demoraba 20 horas aproximadamente por línea transcrita y hay una opción acá arriba, aquí, donde ustedes pueden poner solitos los subtítulos. Está donde hay un cuadradito que dice CC. Lo aprietan y les van a aparecer subtítulos automáticos para que los que no pueden entender el inglés pueden ahí ponerle subtítulos y maravilloso. Así que eso, sigan con la entrevista.
Yes, well, you're missing my country. I'm here in Chile, but yeah, you're going to Colombia, Argentina, and Brazil. How has this tour happened? Because it was like, okay, we're going to Latin America.
I said the same thing. I said, how does this happen? I was just down there with Overkill. I filled in for Dee Verney, and we just did such a fun tour down there. And that was a good time. Of course, Megadeth was down there, and it was us and Anthrax, and it was a metal season. So it was super great. It was a good time to be there, all of us together. And yeah, this, so Guilherme, our singer, he's from Brazil. And so he got approached by a promoter to bring us down there. And I think at this point, a young band like we are, we go wherever the phone rings. And look, it's one of my favorite territories of the world is Latin America. For me, always has been since I went down there. I guess probably my first time was Rock in Rio in 1991. And then, of course, we brought the Euthanasia record to Santiago. We started the tour there first. Santiago, Buenos Aires, and then up to Brazil. So, it's kind of a second home for me down in Latin America. And yeah, I'm sad I'm going to be missing Santiago on this trip, but I'm glad I got there in April. It was certainly great to play the movie star with Overkill. And But yeah, it's look, these things happen. You know, somebody decides to bring you to an area, and you say yes, and off you go.
Great. Yeah, well, I saw you with Overkill. Well, I translated the press release when you were the one to replace Gigi Verni, because, well, I work for Nuclear Blast in Spanish translations, so I was like, no way, and I need to keep my mouth shut for about 1 week about this. And well, in the show, I was right in front of you. It was amazing. Even you were teasing peace cells. So yeah, it was a nice show. How
And that was their idea. That was their idea to do
yeah.
that. That was Bittner wanted to do it, and Blitz was totally down with it, and so that was their idea, you know. So I was just there to help my friends out, play Dee Dee songs, play Dee Dee's parts. You know, I was there to just, you know, kind of fill in for him. But you know, we had a really good time. I mean, those guys have been good friends of mine for many years, and it's funny. I've done musical things. You know, of course, you know, Overkill was on tour with Megadeth as far back as the Peace Cells tour in 1987, and up here in North America. And then I've done stuff with Jason Bittner. I wrote and demoed some songs with Dave Lintz, which I keep nudging him to put them out. They seem to be stuck in his studio. I'm like, come on, get these fucking songs out, man, you know? So it was, you know, I've had a good, you know, musical, you know, friendship with those guys for a long time. So that was a lot of fun, man. That was a really fun month of my life to go down there and do that with those guys.
Yeah, well, it was maybe like a bucket list, go with another band to tour in South America. And well, how did you feel those shows? Because, well, it was a bunch of shows, not only like Ecuador, and no, it was lots of countries with Overkill. So how did you feel in another band playing thrash metal here in Latin America, as you can say, your second home?
Well, I guess two things. First of all, I know the Overkill guys. I know some of their songs. I had to do a pretty deep dive and really dig in and learn some songs, you know. Mm-hmm. And so it definitely required me to do some homework. I mean, I spent some time right here in this very chair grinding through some songs, and it was really fun. I mean, of course, I know the genre, I know the style, so I guess it's why I get, you know, calls for this kind of stuff. So, but you know, then as far as Latin America, look, I know how the fans are. I know the passion. I know how Latin America responds to thrash metal. So, you know, that was kind of almost the easy part. You know, I knew it was going to be fun. Our brotherhood together made sense, you know, for me to step in and help out the mighty Dee Dee. And, you know, it gave me a great appreciation for Dee Dee's, you know, not just his playing, but his writing, you know, because he and Blitz really write everything, and Dee Dee writes, you know, I think all the music. And, you know, I really had a newfound appreciation. You know, when you dig into someone's songs, you learn a lot more about who they are as a composer, maybe even thematically what they write their songs about. And so that to me is always fun, because it's like you get to know somebody on a whole other level. And, you know, for me, you know, to get to understand Dee Dee, you know, all these years later, 40 years later, you know, since we met, it's really, you know, really have a wonderful fascination with, you know, how his mind works and how his compositions come together. I was very impressed. It was a really fun journey for me.
Yeah, and it was hell of a tour, I can tell. Well, and I need to ask you about, well, this has been a really busy year for you, because you have this Kings of Thrash thing, Metal Allegiance. How can you like match all these projects in only one person in, well, this whole year, because it's been a busy one?
Well, I'm basically doing a world tour and a half. I mean, I say that because, you know, I'm playing. I started in the U.S. with Metal Allegiance. In fact, I think I did 6 shows during NAMM, between some, the Ronnie Montrose thing. We did Metal Allegiance. Dieth played. Dieth was the direct support for Metal Allegiance. We did a couple of Kings of Thrash appearances. So, I mean, just that one week in NAMM, man, I freaking played like 6 different gigs. And then I went over to Europe and I did the Bass Warrior tour. which was really fun because that's with my solo band. So we dip into some of the Ellefson solo stuff, Ellefson Todo, this stuff. So that was a fun tour, and took me to Eastern Europe and some parts deep into Italy, some parts that I had not been to, some new cities. So that was cool. And then right into Overkill in South America, and then I came home and I did a North American tour with Kings of Thrash. We did the Summer of Thrash tour, and then I went right over to Europe and Dieth. We jumped on some shows with KK's Priest, and Kings of Thrash went to Australia.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, then I went back to Europe, and I filled in for Paulo from Sepultura with his band Cultura Trace. He asked me if I would fill in for him so they could maintain their. They had a really nice main stage slot at Bloodstock, and Bloodstock's such a great festival. It really is. By the fans, for the fans, as they say. It's such a heartfelt metal festival. It's like a family reunion up there. You know what I mean? So they welcomed me back with open arms. The fans, the festival promoters, everybody. They were just so kind. And again, that was a very different musical moment. Because those guys are all from Latin America. All the Cultura Trace guys. From Colombia, Venezuela,
Brazil.
Just their whole, of course, Paulo. His influence from Brazil. And Sepultura background. So, again, Overkill and Cultura Trace were some really avant-garde deep dives musically for me, that it wasn't just pick up the bass and, oh yeah, I know this song, no problem. I mean, I really had to do some homework this year, so it's and I did a lot of writing. It's funny, kind of November, December, and early January, I told everybody I was writing on a couple things. I said, listen, I got up until NAMM, and then I'm done. I mean, my creative brain is going to kind of get turned off because I gotta learn a lot of songs coming up. So I've kind of been in performance mode, for most of this year. It's funny, right before the interview a couple hours ago, I was laying down went out for a bike ride, and I lay down on the couch, took a little nap. And it's funny, sometimes when I'm drifting off to sleep, that's when song ideas come to me. I've written literally a lot of songs right as I'm drifting into almost asleep. I pick up my phone and go, shit, I gotta write that down, and write things down, and melodies into my voice recorder. And, because it's that moment where your consciousness and sort of the to-do list, that logical part of your mind is off, and you're just sort of drifting. And to me, that's where the creative is, is when you get sort of, out of the sort of the grind of the day, if you will, So I think for me, creatively, it's just, this is my recorder, it's my phone. I just put snippets of things in, and then I get back home or whatever. I'll get in a room with guys, and get in a studio, and kind of take those ideas and turn them into something, So, and then I did a show in Rome last week, actually, with the Bass Warrior band, as a way to kind of close up the summer. And I got Metal Allegiance coming up this week, and meet up with my brothers there, and then down to South America. So
wow.
Then to the UK, and then to Europe. Then I guess I'll be home until the phone rings and says, "Hey, you want to come over here and do this?"
Hey, you missed Chile. Come here.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. It's funny how it's funny how our phones are listening, right? I mean, it's right before I got on this call, I got some some flight offer to go to Chile. I think that's weird. Sure enough, we jump on here and talk about going to Chile. So maybe I should save that email. I don't know.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Head back over to Chile. Well, I tell you, this tour, we're moving fast, man. I mean, we're blazing through, I think, 6 shows in about 7 days.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we're moving, man. This one we're grinding. This one we're, it's excuse me, it's kind of like, play hard, travel light, keep moving. That's my attitude on this one.
Well, I've been a tour manager this year, like last July, and we did 23 shows with Sinister, the Holland guys, and maybe 28 days. So yeah, I know your feel. I know how you feel right now, because it was wow.
Some tours, look, it's nice to have the time off, you get to relax and enjoy, but at the same time, when you're on stage performing, when you're doing it every day, you stay tight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes just even one day off, and you're like, whoa, you're out of the groove. So, I figured, look, we're there to play. It ain't work. I hate when people call it work. It's not work. Getting a job, that's work. Stepping on stage and playing music, that is not work. And so it's and I love the travel, man. I think it's awesome, man. I mean, I think COVID was the reminder. They're like, hey, this shit could end any minute, right? Like that, the sky could fall and it's all over. So I think for me, and I hope for my tribe of touring and performing artists, like being back on the stage is a real gift, man. It's not for everybody. Most don't get to go there. So for those of us who do, man, horns up, let's rock.
Yeah, there's a lot of people like metal fans that are saying, oh, I want to be like you. I want to travel. I want to play on big stages. That's not for everyone. That's not for everybody, that you can travel every day, maybe sleep 2 hours and that's it, and the sound check, and then maybe a shower, sleep half an hour, and okay, show, and then again an airplane. So it's not a easy thing. It's not a like an actual job, maybe because you're traveling, you're enjoying, but it's not an easy thing.
Well, for me at this point in my life, look, I've been around this little planet of ours a gazillion times, and there's always something still fascinating about it. You get to meet new people, make new friends. The journey always opens doors to new things. And to me, I don't know, I feel like my life is out there, what I mean? And that's why I keep a suitcase packed and a face over here and ready to go, and like I said, travel light, move quick. And it's, because, I mean, look, we're only here for a while, and for me, look, my birthday's coming up November 12th. I'm going to turn 60. I get to be on stage in Switzerland, and it's funny that we're playing. It's the song "Smoke on the Water" on the Lake Geneva shoreline, right? I mean, it's literally the lyrics right out of "Smoke on the Water," where I get to be on my 60th birthday, and it's like that is the party. I get to be on stage, freaking rocking with my bass, jamming, melting faces in Switzerland, man. I mean, how awesome is that? I mean, I couldn't ask for a better birthday party.
Yeah.
I'll do the entertaining. I'll play the tunes. Have fun. Enjoy my birthday.
Yeah, that's super cool. David, I need to ask you about this Altitudes and Attitude, because I love that band. And, well, are you guys with Frank doing something new, or is it like in hiatus?
No, it's funny. I just saw Frank in Bloodstock because he was there with Satyricon the same day that I was there at Trace. So we got to catch up. Frank's a brother from another mother, man. It'll be months or a while before we see each other, and then we see each other, and it's just immediately we just connect, And I asked him. I said, hey, what is your schedule looking like? Because people are asking, should we fire off another song? I mean, in this day and age, you can just sort of put one song up digitally. You don't have to go through all the effort of making albums anymore. As much fun as that is, but it takes a lot of time. It's a lot of effort, and especially for those of us who are off doing other things, it's hard to bring everybody together, in a concentrated period of time to make albums. And, I think when you already have a collection of work like we do, we had that EP, we put out the LP, to just do a couple of songs, even push some things out digitally. I'm totally down for it. And so really, I think it's the two of us finding the moment to do it, but we're totally up for it because it was fun. It is fun for us to do that.
Yeah, no, and it's a really cool thing. Well, the album is maybe 5 years old right now, so yeah, maybe it's only a matter of time to get some new Altitudes and Attitude music.
It is, and I think with me and Frank, we work in a way, even with Dieth, with all of us, I think as soon as we just kind of say, hey, do you want to do something? There's like a new song. I mean, it just falls out of the sky, It's, like with Dieth, we've been writing here now this last year, and it's kind of gone in a couple of different seasons, but, you collect some tunes and you get off to something else and come back to a couple more tunes. And so now as we're putting those together, it's the same thing. We get in the room, and when you take a little time away and then you come back to something, you feel how it graduates to the next level. You know, people talk about your debut album, your sophomore effort, all this kind of stuff. You know, and you do, at least I see, especially with Diet, you know, I see the band really growing, developing. We're a much more, you know, mature look and sound to everything. It just, because we've done it now for a while. We've been on the road, we've done our work. So it comes together in a more, like it originally came together naturally and organically. It still clicks together so easy, you know. And I think as long as things click together easy and they're fun, and you can, you know, make it work on the road financially and everything else, then, you know, why not keep doing it? That's my attitude.
Yeah. This week I've been listening a lot to Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. And I just realized it's almost 40 years old. So I was like, wow. And well, Junior, as I told you before, and Junior is playing since 80-ish. So 40 years of career. Could you mention at least 3 highlights of your musical career so far?
Well, you know, God, if you asked me yesterday, it would be 1. If you asked me tomorrow, it'd be 3 others. And I think for today, look, you know, what we just talked about earlier, I think that Euthanasia record that we put out, and, you know, we started in Santiago, we went to Buenos Aires, we went to Brazil, we did that little run. I mean, that was a real kind of our first real entry into South America in a proper way. And I think because we went there that early in our career, and at a time when those, you know, your country and Argentina and everything was shifting politically, you know, you don't know it until you're there and you see it, you know, and you really kind of feel the voice of the people. In a way, I think Megadeth, we became the voice for the people, and that will probably forever always be there through those songs, through the performances. And so I think that for sure was a big one because, you know, I talked to people who heard like Train of Consequences on the radio, and they just remember that.
Yeah.
Right? Like that was like oh my God. Like, you know, I mean, I think about my songs, whether it was AC/DC
and you can still hear it on the radio right now, so it's very cool.
You know what I'm saying? So like, and to have a song that just lights people up like that. I mean, like, you know, and I wasn't really there for it because it was our recording and you heard it, and, you know, we're touring it and stuff. But when I hear those stories about how our songs connected with people like that, like, man, I mean, that's just like goosebumps, you know. You can't, like, I mean, what is it that we were just these 4 little dudes that somehow got, you know, the heavens said, you 4 young men will do this, you know. And I think that's the power of music, and when you get sort of tapped by the universe to be part of something like that, you know, that is just, I mean that's just bigger than you know what I mean? Like that, you just realize you were part of a much bigger plan of the universe on that one, you know what I mean? And I kind of look at my whole career like that, because to be honest with you, I grew up, you know, in the cornfields of Minnesota, and I'm listening to the, you know, rock and roll on the radio. I'm listening to the Sweet and Kiss and the Styx and Aerosmith and all this stuff, you know, in the you know, mid '70s when all that music was new. And man, it moved me. It moved me the same way Train of Consequences, you know, moved, you know, Chile, you know, back in that day. So I know that feeling, and for some reason, man, it just hit me. I was like on the school bus going to school, and it's like, I got to get a bass guitar, you know. And I mean, why a bass? It's like saying get a clarinet, you know, or something, you know, like get a bass. And you know, my mom kindly bought me a bass, and I learned how to play it. It was my entire life, it was my passion, just like it is now. And it just, that's all I've ever done my whole life, and it's just been my, you know, it's just been my calling, you know. And you know, so I think, you know, those moments are, I think, probably for me the things that stand out more than, oh, we played to 100,000 people. I mean, yeah, that's great too. I mean, I'm not ever playing that down. That's amazing. But I think sometimes it's these moments in life where a door opens, you know, you turn a corner, and it's just it's life changing. You know, those are the moments to me that I think probably stand out. Those are the take to the grave moments for me.
Yeah, well, and that thing that people telling you stories about Megadeth and, well, how they feel with your music, it touched me the same way, because the first time I saw you, I was on the second floor of the Teatro Caupolicán with this Countdown to Extinction show, and I grabbed a pic of yours in the second floor. So
Nice.
I didn't know how I did it, but I have it
I
here.
probably have one of those here too myself. It's funny, I got all these cups and I have all these pics in. That's funny. I love those pics.
Yeah, no,
that's great that I played that pic, because I love those pics. They're like one of my favorite gauges that I play with, actually.
It's super cool. And well, 2 years later, you went to the Metal Fest that year, and well, I didn't make it to the show, but I met you. And you were so nice to the people there. Well, I didn't have a ticket, so I was like, okay, if I know some guy, I will be happy. And that was it. And well, I had a picture with you that day, and that's it. And the next day I listened to the show on the radio, and well, 10 years later, I'm here talking to you, telling my story with you, and it was a pretty cool moment in my life. Well, that year, and that festival, actually, that Metal Fest, was the first thing to make me doing what I'm doing right now. So it's pretty cool. And well, Megadeth and you, of course, giving me that pic and that picture, that moment was a pretty cool moment in my career, for saying something. So, well, thank you so much for that too. And
you're welcome.
Well. For you, what's the best part of making this music?
You know, it comes in phases. You know, there's this sort of, when the ideas are coming and you're excited about something that, because, you know, we're just channels, man. It's not like we write this stuff. And I think if you ask any composer, you know, Eddie Van Halen talked about it in his interviews. People be gushing on how great he is. And he'd go, no, it's not me. It comes from somewhere else. You know, he was very aware that he had the guitar in his hand all the time, so he was ready for it. But it's like, he knew that there was something greater than him, you know, that this music is like, it's like spirit. It's invisible, right? So, you know, that's why when you patent it or you trademark it or you copyright it, they call it intellectual property, because you can't put your finger on it. Like, what is a song? You can't, own. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's right. So it's this sort of spiritual thing, you know, and you know, I guess there's some of us here on this planet that's what we were designed to do, is to sort of channel that stuff through our instruments, our hands, our voices, and kind of mold. It's like a chef, you know, just taking some ingredients and turn it into something that's edible and nourishes people, and it's of use, you know. And I think that's kind of the same with us. You know, take something that not only is fun for us, but it's you know, it's the language of the heart, right? Because when the heart talks to another heart, it really connects. You know, it's another level, and I think that's what music. When you really, I've listened to some songs, even today, I listened to one song and went, yeah, I can tell why this one didn't connect. The lyric was a little scattered. We kind of took two ideas and we put it together. And so, you know, looking back, I can kind of go, I knew it at the time, it seemed disjointed, and then I listened to it now 10 years later, go, yep, I can see why that didn't connect with somebody, because it didn't connect directly to the heart, right? And that's me being objective about my own work. And then I hear other songs and I go, man, this song just like fell out of the sky, man. I mean, it's like it just wrote itself one day in the band room, you know what I mean? It's like, how could we have even done this? I mean, it just kind of fell in, and we all joined in, and 2 hours later the song was done, you know. So I've had both experiences, you know, and you know, so I think for me, that's the creating of it. And when you're excited to show somebody, you know, like your manager's coming down, or a producer, or, you know, whoever, a family member, you're like, oh my God, you got to hear this, check this out, you know. And you can tell, and I'll like, let me just stay on that point. So I was just in Rome, right? And there's an arena in town that we played at in 1995 on Euthanasia Tour, and I'll never forget this. In fact, I was telling my guitar player this last week as we were pulling up to the driving past the arena. I said, dude, I remember that arena so well. Because we used to, in those days, we'd write songs at sound check. Every day we'd write and we'd record everything. We had our front of house mixer, always record everything. And at the end of the tour, we'd compile all these tapes and these riffs and ideas. And Dave started playing some riff that was so catchy and so cool. And he had his back turned to the front of house. He was kind of looking at Nick and me and Marty, right? And we're jamming, and we all jump in, and it was just this fucking killer groove. And I remember like there was a janitor back there sweeping, and he's like looking up at us going, da, 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 right? And there was a lady literally making popcorn or something, right? And she's like going, da, 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 right? Like just everybody in the building was like just grooving to this fucking riff, man. And when we were done, I told David, dude, that was fucking amazing. And he goes, what are you talking about? I said, dude, everybody in the room is just like, yeah, that's fucking awesome, man. And I don't even know if we used the riff. I don't know where it went. I guess it probably would have ended up on Cryptic Writings, maybe. And it was just a moment, and I'll never forget it in that venue, because it was a big dome venue with a lot of echo and everything. But we're just jamming at sound check, and everybody in the room was just rocking out to this new riff that he started. We all jumped in and just were ahead of us. And I'm right there. That was it. And I guess that was the magic of that lineup, and that was the magic of Megadeth in that day. That we were all, no matter who started the idea, we all contributed. Everybody pitched in. Everybody was excited about what was happening. And I guess maybe it speaks a little bit just to that era as well. And just the feeling we had together as a team back then too.
Yeah. Well, I was watching this Rude Awakening, so like maybe 2 days ago at my job. Well, I work selling records on weekends, so we are always putting some metal and everything. So, well, I was like, yeah, this is how some metal band needs to play and sound. And well, maybe the 90s era was maybe the grooviest Megadeth era, because every song is like,
I agree.
Yeah, it's like great. I love Countdown to
Extinction.
Extinction.
I mean, look, you just did it. You curled your lip and did you did the body language, man. And that's just it, man. Your body moves and sways to the groove of that, and you're right. And it was interesting because I remember we did Ozfest 98, and right before us was Limp Bizkit. And, we had just taken Korn out with us on the Euthanasia tour, and people were starting to move their bodies different. They were kind of doing more of this hip hop groove, right?
Yeah.
So it was a different body language, right? And, right after us was Tool, which was a bit more cerebral. Yeah. I loved going out and watching. I thought it was fucking awesome. I thought they were so cool. But, just to see this different, here's kind of this hip hop thing, and there's Megadeth, kind of doing our thing, legs spread, fucking jamming, like we do, fucking stretch jeans, and then Tool. So there's like these three totally different genres, one right after the next, and then Ozzy, of course. But it was, that was really, to me, was such a wake up. God, how times are changing, and here we are right in the middle of it. But you're right. I think that 90s era, once we got into Countdown and Euthanasia, certainly Cryptic, there was just this real swagger that we tapped into that really, it connected worldwide to everybody. And Euthanasia wasn't the biggest selling record here in America, but it was one of our biggest records internationally, everywhere in the world. It just appealed to so many people, because it was not so much a thrash record, but it was definitely a great metal and heavy rock record.
Yeah, no, I love that album. Yeah, even the hidden tracks like Absolution will become Trust instrumental part. I was like, I was maybe 15 years old, and I was like, I want to hear Absolution live so hard. And then I realized on the next album that it was Trust, so I was like, oh, okay.
Right. Oh, well, see, and that's what would happen. We would write. Absolution was written for Countdown, and didn't make it. It didn't really evolve into a kind of a full song. So it just sort of sat there. And then when we were doing Trust, putting that tune together, and Trust had a whole other lyric to it called "Smoking Gun," I think, and it just was a whole other thing. And our manager, he just looked at Dave and goes, "What's a smoking gun?" And it was interesting because he said. And Dave started to explain it, and Bud, he goes, "See, right there, you have to explain it. It's too complicated. It's over everybody's head. Let's get it down here on a level where you don't have to explain it. Like the song explains itself." And that was a real master class in writing, and Dave, he nailed it with Trust, and Dan Huff was big on that. He's like, "Man, just write your life," and that's a very Nashville thing, is to write your life. write your life story in very few words to tell a big story. And I've come to appreciate that about country. You know, country is not my genre, but I do, I appreciate their skill in the lyric side, man. It's incredible. They use so few words to tell such a big story that it's really great. So, you know, making records in Nashville, that influence came in, you know, as kind of maybe the storyteller side of things. It definitely influenced those records in the 90s.
Great. Well, I need to ask you about Megadeth. For you, is it a closed chapter or maybe never say never?
No, look, it's never a closed chapter. I mean, look, I helped start the band. I was there from the beginning. I mean, you know, my heart and soul is in it. You'll hear that. You'll hear that in those songs forever. You know, and look, that way of life, our lifestyle, you know, our work ethic has influenced me forever. You know, it's part of how I still roll now, moving forward. You know, so you can't just take that piece of your life and just pull it out and stick it on the shelf. It's part of me. I'm always part of that. And hey, look, you know, we're not sharing the stage together. We're not doing that right now. But yeah, it's like, why? I mean, my thing is, why ever close doors? You know, like it wasn't my idea to not be there. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Maybe another time. Anyway, let's go to Rome. Let's play a show. You know, let's go down. Let's go jam some tunes with Overkill. You know, so you know, to me, it's kind of like just keep moving, man. You know, just keep moving. I mean, when I went back to it in 2010, it wasn't in my rearview mirror. It was now in the front view. You know, and that's kind of how I viewed it the first time around. It's like, well, don't sit here and focus in the little rearview mirror. Look out the big windshield in the front and see what's coming around. And that was Soulfly and all these other kind of cool things that came around. You know, and then one day, next thing you know, hey, wow, Megadeth's in the front view again. All right, well, let's do that for a little while, you know. And so, you know, that's my outlook on it.
Great. Well, David, according to Zoom, we're running out of time. So thank you so much for this interview. I would be talking to you for 3 hours. It was amazing. And well,
if Zoom would let us, but it won't. So yeah. Well, yeah. Samuel, that was great, man. Hey, thanks for your story too, man. I appreciate that. I'm glad I was nice to you. Yeah. I try to be nice to most people. It's kind of you can thank my mother for that. She was a good soul, you know, so she hopefully raised me well.
Well, and could you say a message to your Latin American fans who we will see you this very month?
Sure. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, listen, David Ellefson here. I'm going to be heading your way with Dieth. Our debut album, To Hell and Back, is out. There's more music in the pipeline that you'll be hearing shortly, maybe even in 2 weeks, on our tour in South America from September 20th to 26th. So tour dates will be posted. They're everywhere, so check it out. Hope to see you at the show. Come out. Thanks a lot.
Great.